In your Nexus kit, you'll have a body tube, a motor tube, 2 fin rings, 2 centering rings, a motor hook, 3 fins, a shock cord, a parachute, a nose cone, and a decal. To assemble your motor mount, you'll need the motor tube, 2 smaller centering rings, motor hook, and shock cords. Take 1 centering ring and the shock cord. Take apart the shock cord and take the white elastic shock cord and the yellow Kevlar shock cord and tie them together in one overhand knot. On one centering ring, you will have an opened end, and you will have 2 grooves on the inside and outside of the opposite end. Take your Kevlar end, or the yellow end of the shock cord, and tie it around this groove with a double knot. And then pull it to the edge of the top edge of the centering ring where the thicker ring is. Assembling your motor mount. The motor mount will have a motor tube, a motor hook, and 2 centering rings. The centering ring has been previously tied to the shock cord. Take your motor tube and the motor hook and insert the end with a single band inside the slot along the top edge of the motor tube. Then take the centering ring with the shock cord tied to it, and opposite the shock cord end is an open split end. Open that and slide over the motor hook end of the motor tube and click into place. The slot should be open and aligned over the motor hook. Turn it around and take the second centering ring and do the other side. Open the centering ring over the motor tube, aligned with the motor hook, and click in place. Assembling your motor mount and fins to the body tube. You'll need the body tube, your motor mount, the 2 external fin rings, and the fins. Take the motor mount and insert the white end of the shock cord in the top end of the motor mount, which is the same end that the shock cord is tied to, and pull through. Then insert your motor mount into the end of the tube that has the slots in it, or the fins. Insert the end with the shock cord tied to it, with the motor hook aligned between 2 of the fin slots. Squeeze the centering rings as you put in, and put it until it's flush. When it's installed deep enough, you'll be able to slide the fins into the slots like so. Then take your shock cord and insert through the bottom end of the tube all the way through the tube and out through the top end of the tube and pull through. Now take your fin ring and put on the outside of the body tube and the second fin ring and align the two launch lug holes with the motor hook in between the two fin slots. Then rotate over to your first fin attachment slot and take your fin and push into the snaps and also the slots. Adjust your rings the distance apart and align them with the slot. Push in. Do the same for the second and final fin. Now we'll take our nose cone and we'll tie it to the white end of the shock cord with a double knot. Remove your parachute from the bag. You will have a parachute, a shroud line, and 8 tape discs. Take your shroud line and divide it into 3 lengths of 24 inches each. Unfold and cut out your parachute with a pair of scissors. Take your tape discs and remove them and place one tape disc over each of the locations indicated on the parachute. Using a pencil point, pen point, or toothpick, punch a hole in the center of each tape disc through the parachute. Taking your shroud lines, take one shroud line and pass it through one hole in the tape disc on the parachute and tie a double knot. Leave the ends of the knots short. Then right next to it on another tape disc, tie to the parachute again, so that you have one loop. Take the second shroud line and do the same. Through the first tape disc, then the next tape disc right next to it, another loop, and right next to that one, the next shroud line, and the other end of the shroud line for the last tape disc. To create the final loop. Take your parachute and turn it over, then fold it till the points come together, then fold it again to bring the other two together, and then fold it again to bring the last two together. Now when you pull your shroud lines, they should come to the same length. Take the ends of the shroud lines and tie a knot, keeping the lengths short. Take your rocket and tie the parachute with a double knot to your nose cone. Take your Nexus decal and remove the paper backing. And apply it to your rocket about halfway up the tube in between two fins, opposite your launch lugs, so that when it's on the launch rod, you'll be able to see your decal. Then smooth it out. And now your Nexus rocket is complete and ready to load an engine, your parachute, and fly. To prepare your Nexus rocket for flight, take 2 or 3 sheets of parachute wadding and put into the top end of your body tube. After folding your parachute, fold it once more and then fold it lengthwise, and then once more, and then roll it on to the shroud lines tight enough so that it slips easily into the body tube. Put your shock cords in after the parachute's been put in. And insert your nose cone. Install your rocket motor and igniter into the aft end of the rocket according to the manufacturer's recommended installation for the model rocket motor.